All right, we're on. So we're doing a quick podcast today with Leah Hoffman and Jack Hoffman, who are whom I think are kind of an expert in these fields. And the topic for today is movies, comics, and Nerf. And Leah is going to talk about movies and comics. We're going to keep it at a pretty high level today because obviously there's a lot to talk about each of these. And same thing with Nerf. Jack is going to talk about Nerf, and they're both kind of an experts in each of these fields, and they're both really good, rational, logical thinkers. So it'll be good to get their opinions on these things. So we'll have a lot of fun. So, hey Leo, hey Jack.
Hello.
Hi Jack. Can you guys hear us?
Hi.
Hi. All right. So let's dig right into it. So we'll start with Leo with movies and comics, and then we'll go to Jack. So I guess Leo, just before we even start, right? Why do you want to talk about movies and comics? Do you want to just say why those topics specifically?
Well, they're probably my two favorite forms of storytelling, and um, what else? Oh, they're just subjects that I know a lot about and have a lot of things to say about.
Okay.
So,
Why is
like,
so you said two favorite forms of storytelling.
hmm
Um, do you why is storytelling important in your opinion? Why is that of a value?
well, storytelling is important to me because I'm constantly thinking up stories. I always have, and it's like that's what I like to do.
Yeah,
Now,
I do know about that.
in general, how is it important? Well, I mean, stories are good ways to communicate messages, and also they're good ways to do political and social commentary, like Ayn Rand stuff.
Sure. So you can make it more relatable with a story. Is that what you mean?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like it's one thing. Like you can you can write any number of books on politics, but it's gonna be a bit more compelling if you make a story about politics.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I agree with that. So let's dig into it first. So right away with movies. Let's say we talk about movies for about 10 minutes and then we'll earmark about
Okay.
10 minutes for comics and then we'll move to Nerf. All right?
Okay.
That
That
sounds
sounds
good.
good.
All right. So let's start with like a basic question, right? What makes for a good movie? What do you think makes a good movie in your opinion?
I think it, the thing is that movies are a very collaborative process. I mean, like like who's responsible for a movie? Who truly makes the movie? Is it the person who writes it? Is it the person who directs it? Is it the all the actors that are in it? So there are a lot of different elements to a movie. You could have an amazingly well written movie and directed movie with horrible actors. You could have a very well acted movie that's poorly written and poorly directed, right? So
Hmm. Do you have an
I
example of each of
um
those
let's see.
cases?
A movie that's well acted but poorly written and directed. Um, I don't know. I feel like some of the MCU movies that I don't uh, like Thor Ragnarok. I'm not a huge Thor Ragnarok fan. I don't like this story. It's too much of a departure from the other Thor movies.
Hmm.
Um, but it's very well acted. I mean, Chris Hemsworth. You can't go wrong with Chris Hemsworth. And uh, who else was in it? Tom Hiddleston was in it. Um,
Tom who?
and then Tom
Okay,
Hiddleston,
right.
and then a movie which
Is well
was,
directed, but
but
not well
poor.
acted. Okay.
Um, I don't know, maybe Benji.
Benji. Okay. Sure. Okay.
Benji's
Yeah.
a great actor, though. Benji, the dog, he out-acted everybody in that
That's
movie.
for sure. Yeah, I do agree with the fact that it has some bad acting,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think the plot-wise it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, for a kids movie.
right, right. Yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot of other things we can think of, a lot of
Mhm.
other examples,
So
but
yeah.
I see what you're saying though. Okay. So you were going, so what makes for a good movie? You were saying,
Mhm.
go ahead. Sorry.
But I really think though that a good director is really what will determine whether or not the movie's good or not. Usually, because like the director will usually have some influence over the script, uh, and also he'll get to decide if the actors' performances are good or not. Like, do do we was that a good take or do we have to do this again? And plus, he also like you know gives the final say on all the editing and stuff. So
Right. So, I mean, if a movie is not good, it ultimately comes down to the director, right? So he kind of allowed it to happen. He allowed the bad
yes,
acting to happen, and he compromised on it essentially.
so yeah. Usually, I view movies as in like being like the director's baby.
Right, right.
Usually,
Okay.
um. So yeah,
So all the elements need to be good, but it ultimately comes down to direction, you're
yeah.
saying.
It's the director's job to make sure that all the other elements are good.
Are good. Okay. Right, right. So let's take a little sidestep a little bit and talk
Mm-hmm.
about what do you think is the I'm going to include comics too here in this case.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the artistic value of each of these mediums, movies and comics, in the sense that what do you think they bring to the table that other artistic mediums are not able to accomplish, like TV
Mm-hmm.
shows or paintings, music or whatnot?
So an interesting. Well, movies are sort of like so. TV shows I have mixed thoughts on. It's in some ways it's easier to just to write a 2 hour long compelling story because if you have a TV show that goes on, there's some TV shows that just go on for forever and it's like, maybe it would have been better if you just made a 2 hour movie or something
Okay.
like what like Limitless, the TV show Limitless.
Uh-huh.
That's one I think maybe they could have condensed it down to like maybe a movie or something.
Oh, you think so? Really? The whole
Yeah, well, I feel like
Limitless? Okay.
it's a little repetitive. It was a little repetitive in places. It felt
Okay.
like.
I still liked it
Um.
though. I still like the whole series.
Yeah, yeah, I liked
Right.
it, but like a lot of it felt like filler.
Okay.
Um. So in a way, a movie is like just shortening the TV show down into, you know, a tight 2 hours, and then some could argue that a painting is like a movie, but just one frame. You know,
Mhm.
and there are some directors who like really go to great lengths to make every frame worth something, like Stanley Kubrick or Alfred Hitchcock. They try to do that
Right.
where
I
like
did hear that Alfred Hitchcock went to like great pains to make sure every shot is really,
uh-huh.
really, I mean, it fits just right into the whole scheme of things, right?
Yeah. So now comics are actually very similar to TV shows, although it they're easy. I feel like they might be a little easier to plot out in advance.
Easier to
Um,
plot out in advance. What do you mean?
well, like TV shows are like 45 minutes. Comics are maybe I don't know 20 pages. So
Sure. So
yeah.
it's a shorter thing, so it's
hmm
easier to do it, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
but like the thing about comics is like they're comics are a good way to get like world building is something that's important to fiction, especially fiction that there's more than one movie. Like the Star Wars movies have a lot of world building
What do you mean by
and
that? World building.
like fleshing out the world, but making it part of the story.
So all the elements of the world they live in, of the characters
Yes.
live in,
hmm
like what kind of time period it's set in, what
sort
kind of
of
people
like
live in.
that.
Okay,
It's like all the different planets of Star Wars are all contribute to like
sure.
understanding this great galaxy that they're in.
Right, and I'm sure, yeah, that is very important to, and you can go to, I mean, real lengths. In comics, you're saying that they do a really good job of doing this.
Yes, well, comics are a good way to like build a world. Like reading comics is a good way to experience like a big world that's been built real quickly. Like it takes you 3 hours to well, more 6 hours to watch the Star Wars movies, right? But you could experience the same level of story with comics in like I don't know, maybe a couple hours. You could read the Star Wars comics adaptations. It's like comics are good for like people who are in a hurry to experience a good story.
I see what you're saying. Although comics could also go on forever, right? You can
Yes,
keep
yes.
on expanding it
Yeah,
and
you
keep
can
on
keep.
experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about comics is because like you could just read a ton of Batman comics because there are tons of Batman comics being published. Like if you start reading them now, I'm sure you'll never run out.
Right, for sure.
I haven't run out yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what, in your opinion, what is an example of a good movie? Something that just comes to mind of something that you watched recently or something from the past that has a lot of good elements of direction, action, photography, cinematography, all those things.
Well, uh, several Pixar movies. I'm usually not a huge animated movie fan, but Pixar is definitely one of the best companies for movies. I'd say the best.
Okay.
Um, like Toy
Any
Story, any Toy Story movie, The
any Toy
Incredibles,
Story? Okay, sure.
Ratatouille, Up. Those are all really good, solid movies, all made by the same company. Like, and I think part of the reason why is just because Pixar is all about like pushing the limits of two things: storytelling and animation. They're always trying to enhance their animation technology, and they're always trying to like come up with new ways of telling stories. Like The Incredibles is interesting in that it's like there's a comic called Watchmen that it's like it sort of takes apart the superhero genre and makes fun of it.
Mhm.
But The Incredibles does something completely different where it takes apart the superhero genre and puts it back together even better than it was before.
Mhm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so it elevates them. It elevates
It
the
reconstructs it.
reconstruct. Okay. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's one movie I definitely like. Um, you said Ratatouille. I think I heard you say that that was one of your like all-time
Yeah,
favorite movies, right?
that's one of my all-time favorite movies just because it's like a really interesting story because there's some movies where they're like there's sort of a term called a feel good movie, and the term sort of derogatory. It's like, oh, that movie. There's no depth to that movie. It's just a feel good movie. Like Ratatouille is one of those movies that actually has like a lot of depth. It's like, but it's also a feel good movie. It has a bunch of stuff, interesting stuff to say about art and integrity and overcoming prejudices because
Yeah,
like he's a
yeah,
rat
for
and
sure.
a
Anybody,
rat
anyone can be a chef,
anyone
right?
can anyone like not any not anyone can be a great artist, but a great artist can come
Can
from
come from
anywhere.
anywhere. I'm surprised. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you remember that. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
So that's and how about music? What importance does that have to a good movie?
Um well music like a very important thing about movies is atmosphere. Like a movie I saw recently, The Conjuring, very scary movie, but like I was thinking, if we just muted this movie and watched it with subtitles, it wouldn't be that scary
Yeah.
because a lot with horror movies in particular, but with
Yeah.
other movies in general, um, atmosphere, the atmosphere created by sound is very important. Like, and
It creates this
music.
immersive kind of quality, right? Like you
Hmm.
feel like you're in that world. Is that what you mean?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying music plays a big role in that?
Yeah, it helps create the atmosphere of the movie. Like, um, take Star Wars. How would Star Wars feel if the music was like, I don't know, played on the banjo, like, and a good example of a movie with music with bad music that contributed that harmed an otherwise good movie is The Third Man. That was a really interesting thriller mystery movie, but like the music is just it's played on an instrument called a zither, and it was interesting at first. Like it worked for like the main title, like the opening
Sure.
credits, and it worked a bit for the main story. But after a while, it's just the same tune, and it gets old, and you hate it by the end of the movie.
Okay.
So
But the movie is otherwise pretty good. The plot and other things are.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there are some parts that drag on a little long, but even then, that's just nitpicking because it's such an interesting story. But the music, like, turned what probably for me would have been a 5-star film into a 4-star film.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right. And you said it's called The Third Man, right?
Yes, The Third Man.
And is it a
I think
pretty
it's
old
on
movie?
Netflix. It's like 1949. Yeah,
1949, so I'd say that's old. So,
yeah.
and speaking of that, can you talk about the thoughts on the industry itself and how it's evolved? Actually, talk about both of them, let's say, movies and comics, how they've changed over the years.
Well, I think that well, it's hard to say how they've changed because I don't know a lot about what the industry used to be like.
Mhm.
But I know what it's like now. And well, for I think both, but the movie industry in particular, it's kind of it's more about quantity rather than quality. It seems like
Nowadays, you're saying?
yeah, like
In
it
what way?
seems like you can either make a big budget movie or that has tons of like too much special effects, like any MCU movie or I don't know, like the new Star Wars movies, and or that's it, because those are the movies that are doing well. Just
Is that because the 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 audience itself is not appreciating the quality, you think, or why do you think that is?
well, I think part of it is that the 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 movie industry, or I'm not gonna be, I'm not saying every company in general, but I think Walt Disney in particular has kind of been trying to shoot for the lowest. Is that the right phrase? Lowest common denominator.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Like like okay, how do we make a bunch of money? Hey, we could make a film in the vein of our old animated movies like Winnie the Pooh, Peter Pan, Cinderella.
Okay.
They could make another movie like that, or they could just remake them, but live action, and that's what they've been doing. Or like, and I feel like the MCU has kind of dwindled. Like, I used to like it, but now it's kind of like they're not really putting as much focus on story because story is always a big part of superhero comics. It's the best superhero comics are one where like there's a big world out there and like it's not just them beating each other up. But that's sort of what I feel like the MCU movies are turning into now.
Oh, okay. They're not. the the movies don't have much of a good story or good
Yeah, their
plot.
stories are
Okay.
like I could sum up the entire story for Endgame in a couple sentences. Um, Thanos, they go travel back in time, fix things, fight Thanos. The end. That's kind of it. But like Crisis on Infinite Earths, that I could not sum up in a couple sentences. Like this guy's destroying universes, so the heroes all team up, but then the villains team up, and then
Right. There's a lot of depth to it, and you couldn't. So would you like? Are you saying that you'd like to see a lot more of that in the movies? Some more
yeah,
depth to the story?
I'd like to see more depth to the story, and I'd also like to see maybe shorter fight scenes, but also like the fight scenes are very generic. Like Indiana Jones is a great action movie
Hmm.
because like even not only are there plenty of memorable action scenes in it, but each action scene has memorable sequences in it. Like the truck chase. Like there are many like images that are like frozen in my head in the truck chase scene. Like there's the part where he's on the guy knocks him through the window, right?
Right.
And then there's the part where he's dangling on
He's
the whip.
hanging on the yeah. He's hanging on the back of
And then
the
there's the
truck.
part where he's going on a horse. Like one scene has like three or four iconic moments, but like I cannot think of an action scene in the MCU that even has there are very few action scenes in the MCU to have an iconic moment.
Right. Right. And yeah, there's a lot more to what makes an action scene a good action scene, I guess, but probably a topic for another time. Right. We're
Yes.
kind of running out of time. But before we wrap up, I would want to ask you about some pioneers of each of these mediums. We actually didn't get into too much into comics, which I would like to probably for another time. But do you want to talk about some of the pioneers of in movies? Any great directors um, that come to mind? And same thing with comics. Any pioneers that
Okay.
you want to name just for today's discussion? We'll have to dig into these things some more later on.
Okay. Well, there for movies, Georges Millet, he was a French director who he was actually the one who
How do you spell the
thought
last name?
Melies.
Okay.
And he like before him movies were basically people would just watch like basically home videos sort of like oh guys playing cars or a train coming into
Oh,
station
okay.
or
Right.
just a horse going like there wouldn't be any story and he'd sort of put stories into his movies like you know the one where like the rocket hits the moon
Yes.
and the man in the moon is
Yeah, yeah,
crying.
yeah.
Yeah, that's his most famous
Oh,
film.
that was done by George Millet. Okay.
Hmm. See, he was like 1890s, and then it's hard to say influence. Um, after that, uh, Alfred Hitchcock, from what I hear, was pretty influential. Like he influenced the thriller genre a lot, and he also Psycho sort of started the slasher genre. I mean, not really, but it created like the foundation for the slasher genre that Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween would build on later on.
Right.
And and The Birds was sort of like started the disaster movie.
Sure. Was that was also by Hitchcock, right?
Yes, they were
Right.
both by Hitchcock.
Okay.
And recently, well, James Cameron has revolutionized CGI.
Right.
I'm usually not a huge fan of CGI in movies. Like, I think maybe it's best to do like practical stuff. Like Indiana Jones is a great example. Like, it's all real or most or practical effects. Like the scenes where their faces are melting. Like, if that were CGI, it would not be anywhere near as cool. But it's like because they actually use like real practical effects to make that happen. it's even cooler.
Right. I see what you're
It looks
saying.
much cooler than
Okay.
CGI would. But James Cameron is his CGI is usually very good.
Which are
Like
a couple of good movies for James Cameron with good CGI.
um, Aliens, Alita Battle Angel. Although he produced that one, he didn't direct it, but he produced it, and Titanic, of course.
Sure, of course. Right. Okay.
And then uh, Pixar, like I mentioned, Pixar. Everybody involved with Pixar is like a great pioneer film. Like John Lasseter, Brad Bird, Lee Unkrich are some prominent directors, but like I'm sure there are tons of people who are like just do the animating that have also been pioneers too. But I don't really know any names there. But
Sure.
like Pixar in general has really pioneered animated movies. Pretty much, I can't really think of many animated movies that even come close to Pixar. Like I feel like most animated movie companies are just trying to keep up with Pixar.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, and oh, and comics.
We may have to save that up for another time actually,
Yeah, yeah.
because that I would really like to spend a lot of time on that, but we're
Mhm.
kind of running out of time. So yeah, but thank you for these ones for sure.
Mhm.
We'll
Yep.
we'll make a note of that. And I'd like to move on to Jack to talk about Nerf. Jack, are you ready to get on?
Yeah.
All right. So maybe Leah, if you can go on mute, and Jack maybe change locations. I think we're hearing an echo. So while Jack's changing locations, Leo, thank you so much for all that great information. I think that's a lot, and we just kind of skimmed the surface, but that was super cool. We'll get more detail into each of these things sometime later, but that's fun discussion. But hey, Jack, are you ready?
Yep.
All right. So let's dig into Nerf right now. So do you want to start from why Nerf, Jack? Why that's a good topic to talk about?
Well, first of all, most kids know about Nerf.
Right.
Like, if you just walked up to random people, at least half of them, random kids, at least half of them would say, yes, I know Nerf.
Yeah, probably much
So,
more than that, but you're right. Yeah.
yeah.
So okay. And you particularly you also do you enjoy Nerf a lot?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Why do you think? What do you like about it?
First of all, it's kind of like, think about it this way. How easy is it to play capture the flag without Nerf? Like, sure, it's possible, but is it as fun? Um, two, can you think of any other things that are like Nerf? Sure, there are other companies, but they're pretty much exactly like Nerf. And Nerf is way better quality than those other companies, so those other companies do not really matter.
Right. You're just talking about the I mean Nerf now right now it's kind of like it represents the whole industry, right? Even though Nerf is
Uh-huh.
just one company. But okay, so you're talking about that idea of doing shooting with the gun, these plastic bullets. You can do a lot with it, you're saying, and that's why it's a lot of
Uh-huh.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What are the things that you like to do? You said capture the flag is one thing.
Well, Capture the Flag is more of an example.
Okay.
My favorite is to just do kind of a no rules, just teams, shoot it out.
Okay, that's what you like to do. Just two teams, no rules, just shoot it out.
Yep.
Okay. And how does it work? How do you determine who's winning, who's losing? Do you keep track of points, or how do you do it?
Usually, this may sound strange, but usually it's by the people with the most bullets left in their storage. Because bullets, if you don't have bullets, you can't shoot.
Right.
Thus, the most bullets is kind of winning. So sometimes the goal is to just make them try to shoot you, pick up the bullets, and run back to the base.
Okay. Yeah.
Because also, if they don't have any bullets, that's like the way of winning, crippling them by by making them not have any bullets.
Sure. Sure. So you kind of
So,
lure them to shoot you, but dodge them and then pick up all the bullets.
yep.
Right. Okay. Okay. Cool. And speaking of bullets, they've changed quite a bit, right? Over the years, bullets started out completely differently than what they are right now. Do you want to talk about how they've changed, how they used to look like, and what they are like now?
Sure. So they started out having the tip be kind of a sticky, kind of the suction cup type. But the thing with those is
Suction
usually
or
they
sticky
don't.
or both?
No, suction.
Oh, okay.
I meant sticky by suction. I
Oh,
meant
with a vacuum sticky, I
sticky.
see.
Yeah.
Not actual glue sticky, but
No.
oh, okay, okay, suction. Okay.
So they started out like that, and they also had this kind of very soft foam. So think about the top, the suction cup, is it's not as aerodynamic as the orange tip they have now.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
So that makes it so it's faster, and the blue foam is way firmer. So you can have it so it won't break as easily, and your guns can actually kind of shoot them better because it doesn't give away.
Right.
Kind
And
of
you
stays
can
firm.
shoot them much faster and much more accurately, you think?
Yeah. Also, like all the new guns are more designed for the better bullets, so you kind of can't use the old ones. And also, the old ones are older, so they're kind of falling apart, so it's not easy to use them anyway.
Right, right. So are those kind of the standard bullets now? So just the foam back and then with the blue tip or the orange tip?
Yeah. There is this series that's going on called AccuStrike.
Okay.
I don't have any of theirs, but apparently they're way super accurate, and apparently they hurt a ton.
Oh, really? And do
Uh-huh.
they have similar kind of bullets, or what kind of bullets do they have? I mean, are they the same thing with the foam and an orange or a blue tip?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're like foam, but the tip, I think, is suction occasionally.
It's what? Suction
They also have
also?
Mega, which is a really big bullet, and what?
It is also
Mega.
suction, are you saying?
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. But they hurt when they hit you? They could?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh, that is interesting. AccuStrike. So this is something that's coming up new in recent times.
It's been around for like a year.
I see. Okay. They also do have these balls for bullets, right? What are they called?
Though that's rival. Yeah, those also hurt a lot.
The balls do hurt?
Well, it's not mainly for AccuStrike. I think it's the bullets that hurt, but for rival, I think it's the guns. But they can only shoot the balls, so.
And by gun, do you mean they just shoot them really fast? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean they shoot them very powerfully.
Powerfully, right, right. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Okay. Do you like any of those? Do you like the rival things, or do you have any of them?
I have one rival. It's pretty good. It's like it's the loudest gun I own, so I like it in that area.
Okay.
But it's also really cool because it's so powerful, and the balls are are pretty squishy, so it's kind of like shooting bouncy balls around.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you play this shooting game or capture the flag or whatnot,
Uh-huh.
do you just pick any gun?
Usually we just use standard blue guns that shoot the blue bullets
Okay.
because they're those are like the most common guns. And if we used anything else, the Mega doesn't work, the ones that are really big, and the Rival doesn't work either. So we kind of have to use the guns that can only shoot the regular bullets, and I have the most of the regular bullets,
Okay.
so it kind of have to use the regular
Right.
bullets.
So on that note, do you want to talk about different kinds of guns there are nowadays? And like the whole spectrum of guns. There are lots of different kinds, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about those?
So, okay. So there are like four different types. We talked about most of them. There's Nerf Strike Elite. That's the blue bullets. Then there's Mega, which
Are they,
kind of
is that a
consists.
little one, the Strike Elite? Is it a small one or what? How big it is? How big is
No,
it?
I'm talking about. So they're kind of three sections of Nerf guns, and
Okay,
in those sections there are different guns in them.
I see. Okay, okay,
So there's N Strike Elite, which is the blue bullets. There's Mega, which is really big guns that are all red and shoot red big bullets. And then there's mm, AccuStrike. So
okay.
those are really accurate. Apparently they hurt. I don't know. I've never gotten shot by one.
Sure.
And yeah, and then there's Rival,
And the
which we
rival,
talked
of
about.
course, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Will shoot the balls. And then there's Zombie Strike. So all of the guns, like the in that, it feels like they kind of focus on making the gun look cool.
Oh,
Like
okay.
there's no really extra things. If you wanted to, you could just get End Strike Elite, but they kind of look cool, and it's basically the same type of bullet, just different colors, kind of a light green.
Okay.
But
What are they called again? What is this section?
Zombie
Oh,
Strike.
Zombie Strike. Okay, okay. Right. So which ones do you, which of these kinds do you usually work with?
I usually do the regular End Strike Elite because those shoot the regular bullets as I was talking about.
Okay.
And I have the most of those since those are kind of the oldest, but they're definitely new ones.
Right.
It's not like they've stopped.
So in those M Strike Elite section, there's again, you're saying there's different kinds of guns,
Yeah.
right? Okay. What are those?
There are a lot, but a few that I have, there's the Rhino Fire. So it's like a rhino hitting you. So it has two
Okay.
barrels. It's electric.
Oh,
And
sure.
whenever they're electric, they're usually more powerful and way faster. Because
Okay.
you don't have to pump them yourself.
Right, right.
So you can just go drrrr. And then also they so
Is it battery
the Rhino
powered then?
Fire. What?
Is it battery powered?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
battery powered.
Sure. Okay.
I don't think there are any rechargeable batteries. But so the Rhino Fire, it also has a stand, which actually I find is very hard to put on. But there is a stand which you can put it on and shoot on, so it's kind of like a turret gun.
Oh, okay.
It's really powerful, but I usually don't use it since it's so big and it consumes ammo. Because you actually don't want fast firing because they consume ammo so much.
Sure. Right.
And usually the faster, the less powerful. You kind of want the balance, which the Rhino Fire has. But it
Okay.
is still pretty fast.
Okay. So that's one kind, and then
Let's see. There's also the Rough Cut 2x4.
the rough cut.
The Rough Cut 2x4.
Okay.
So it's 2x4. So it has 4 bullets and it's a 4x2 bullet barrel kind of thing where you put the bullets, and it can shoot two at once or just one. It's manual, but it's actually really nice because it's manual and it's not too powerful, so it's not like it's kind of bad to use because it hurts so much. So I like that gun the most of my guns. Um, and then there's, let's see. Oh, I think this is End Strike Elite. So there's this gun is the only gun that I know to have this. It's called the cam gun.
Cam gun? Okay.
What? Uh-huh. What makes it so cool is it has a camera on it to film things.
Oh, sure, sure. You can record it, you mean?
Uh-huh.
Okay. You
So
have one of those, right? That you can record and
Uh-huh. That's a cam gun.
that is a cam gun. Okay. But that's not an M Strike Elite one?
I think it is.
It is. Okay.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it is. So it's electric. It basically it doesn't have any special properties besides the camera. It's just an electric gun. But it has the camera.
Right.
And the thing about the camera is when you're shooting, it's very noisy. Like it's understandable, but it's so noisy that I have to mute the sound on it whenever I want to record something.
Yes, I did notice that. So although this gun that you bought was maybe about a year ago or a year and a half ago, right? So you
Yeah.
think probably today they may have something better out there, right? Where it's not so noisy, or you don't think?
I feel like it would be very hard to do because the microphone for it, there's a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
It's inside the gun. And it's with all of the parts inside the gun. So it has to pick up all of the parts. So the only way to really make it as quiet as possible is first, not make it electric. Because even if you're not shooting bullets, there's this hum.
Yeah, yeah.
So first, don't make it electric so you don't have that hum. Second, try to make it so there's not as many parts. As little parts as possible, because then it won't pick up as much noise from them.
Right, because I do notice that, yeah, it picks up so much noise from all the parts rattling that you can practically not hear anything else, right? It's just so loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But the video quality is pretty good.
Yeah.
So you have to give it to that. So,
Like you can pause it at any point and see a bullet flying. It's not a blur,
right,
which I really like.
right. That's awesome. Yeah. Anyway, so I think we're kind of getting to the end of time here too. So obviously we'll need to allocate more time to talk about these things. But before we hang up, anything else, any other topics or anything else specifically you want to talk about Nerf?
No, I think we got it all.
We got it all. Okay. All right. So thank you, Jack. That was super fun talking about Nerf. Maybe we should talk about some of these specific things in more detail. But thanks for talking, and we'll talk soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.